You got some property, but now what? Maybe it's your first lease, or maybe it's your own dirt. Either way, you're holding something priceless. The opportunity to shape your land into a hunting paradise. Today, we're discussing some steps you can take to unlock your property's full potential. Let's get into it. Here are 9 steps you can take to ensure short and long-term success on your hunting property. Number 1, build a solid foundation. For us on our hunting property, we have 10 guys in the lease. And what this means for us is prioritizing the culture over the deer. Finding the right guys that you want to hunt with is massive, but how you treat each other is even more important. So for us, that's celebrating each other's success like it's our own. If my buddy kills a buck, no one is more excited for him or celebrates with him the way that I do. Because truthfully, the quickest way for a club to fall apart is for guys to not have a shared vision and sharing each other's successes like it's their own. A tough part of putting culture over the deer or culture over anything else is realizing that not everyone is going to contribute at the same level. And if you have as many as 2 guys in a lease together, one guy is going to outwork the rest. That's just the way it is. If you got 2 guys, if you got 20 guys, there are going to be guys that pull more of the weight than others. And you can either pay more money and have less guys, or you can learn to accept the fact that there are going to be days where it's you on the property with the bush hog and the other guy's going to be on the beach with a pina colada. By taking the stance of celebrating every buck like it's your own, you'll really build something that lasts. Because really, when pressure comes, if you don't have a firm foundation that's built on something that's really vital and important, when pressure comes, it's all going to fall apart. Number 2, designate a leader. I am not the leader in our hunting club. My dad is. And if you knew him, he would make it very clear that our hunting club is a soft dictatorship. In fact, I asked him for something very specific this off season, whether it be me wanting to add or take away a person, and I did not get that request granted. So I am not in charge of our hunting club. But the way that my dad runs it is he's the guy that makes the final decisions. You have to have a guy, if you're in a lease with your buddies, someone has to make the final call, because you're not all going to agree on every decision that's made. No point person in a hunting club leads to a lack of clarity and ultimately chaos. But if you have a point person that protects the vision, protects the culture, then you always know who you're looking to when times get tough or things happen that maybe go against what you're trying to accomplish as a club. Number 3, harvest goals. The quickest path for you to not get frustrated when someone harvests a buck is for you to have clear harvest goals and expectations. And when they aren't met, they can be dealt with. When they are met, they need to be celebrated. That's the deal. If you're working towards harvesting mature bucks and someone harvests a mature buck, that needs to be celebrated. It's very hard to kill these animals, and especially mature ones. So when it does happen, you need to have goals and criteria in place that set the standard for everyone. There is no confusion here. This is what we're chasing. This is what we're after. And this is a celebratory moment for us as a club because we all share in that success. If this is not your first year on the property, the best way to set these goals is going to be to look through trail camera pictures, to use the history and the data that you've collected of deer that you guys have seen, and then set expectations that are realistic and gives everyone a chance to try and harvest bucks. But for us, harvest goals are not just about bucks. We also have harvest goals for does. If you're in an area where the deer density is very high, maybe you have overpopulation in your opinion, doe harvest is going to be a key element in providing the best of all of the limited resources that you may have on your property. I shoot does for meat. We as a club, we kill does for meat, and we kill a lot of does. Most people would say we kill too many. On 1,100 acres in the past 3 years, we've killed 98 does. And yes, I was upset that we didn't get to 100 in those 3 years. Me personally, I've killed 24 in those 3 years. So for us, killing does is a priority because less deer equals healthier deer per head. And it also means more available forage, more available nutrition, more available every limited resource. The less deer you have, the better each deer will have access to that. A 100-pound doe is going to eat 6 to 8% of her body weight in green foliage every single day. So that is the reason I am saying, if you have the ability to kill a bunch of does, slay them. I know that 6 to 8 pounds per day over the course of a year becomes a multiplicative problem when that doe is dropping twins in the years to come. You can kill big bucks on 10 acres. You don't need more land. You need more intentionality per acre on your property. Number 4, learn your land. Every property has a story. Nowadays, we have a lot of tools to be able to look at either topography, maps, overhead views, and also get out there, boots on the ground, walk your property, figure out what is lacking when it comes to resources. Use hunting apps, whichever your favorite one is, to figure out what your neighbors may have that you don't, or to figure out what your neighbors don't have that you can provide on your property. Providing the best of limited resources is going to be the best way for you to get bigger bucks, more deer on your property in the short term and in the long term. Whatever you do, understand that neglect is the most expensive land management tactic of all of them. If you don't do anything and you just hope for the best, your property is not going to reach levels that it hasn't in the past. If you keep doing the same thing, you will keep getting the same results. Number 5, timber and habitat work. If you have hardwoods, cut low-value trees around high-value oaks. This is also a great way to open up the canopy so that more sunlight can hit your high-value trees and more sunlight can hit your forest floor to produce more acorns from your oaks and to produce more lush browse lower on the forest floor. Burn some cedars, do some things that encourage native browse to return to that property in areas where maybe trees have grown up and the limbs are touching each other and there's no sunlight hitting the ground. Get in there with a chainsaw and get to cutting. The more you cut these low value trees, the more you open up and can burn around to reintroduce native browse, the better it's gonna be. More food equals more deer. Plain and simple. Fewer better trees equal more sunlight and more food for your deer. You can go out there and make a bedding area and a buffet in the same chainsaw session. But you're not just cutting trees, you're unlocking nutrition. Number 6, food plot strategy. As you guys know, I hunt lease land. It's owned by a timber company, so we do not have big food plots. For us, a big food plot is 2 acres. I know for some of you, you got 40, 50 acre fields. That is not the way it is in South Alabama. So whatever is affordable for you to plant, get out there and plant it. Make a plan, plant as much as you can, and then let that be your starting point. You can work towards expanding food plots, towards getting more area of planted food on your property, but just do as much as you can in the beginning. People will tell you that you need anywhere from 3 to 15% of your property planted in food plots. For us, we have about 1.6% of our property planted in food plots. Is that ideal? Absolutely not. Is that what we can do when it comes to food plots? Yeah, that's it. So for us, realistically, we're well below where we need to be from a food plot standpoint, but we have to figure out how to overcome that hurdle in other areas of getting food to our deer. Once you plant everything you can afford to plant, start to make a strategy on how to expand your food plots. Especially if you own the land, you should be looking at where deer move, what the ridges look like, where the movement patterns are, how the thermals flow, what the wind directions are, and how you can set up plots to take advantage of that. And you need to expand in directions that give you better opportunity to not only feed deer, but to hunt them in the future. The goal would be to produce more food on your property. One way to do that is obviously food plots. More food equals more tonnage equals more deer. It's that simple. So get a strategy together. What is it going to look like this year, reasonably? What is it going to look like 3 years from now? Maybe we set some goals. What is it going to look like 10 years from now? If a deer has a choice between a 50-acre food plot that is subpar nutritionally versus a 2-acre food plot that is premium, the best food they can find. Realistically, deer will eat that 2-acre food plot to the ground before they have to go back to that big food plot. So yes, that food's probably gonna last longer into the year, but if you've already killed them, it doesn't matter what's going on in that field later on in the season. Throughout this whole process of you making a plan on your property, you need to be prioritizing limited resources. Number 7, add water. Droughts are real and water is a magnet, especially when rainfall is lacking. In 2019, we had this great group of bucks on our forage soybeans that we had planted. August rolls around, we start to not see as many. September rolls around, we plant our food plots, drought hits in Alabama. We lost all our bucks to the neighbor because he had a pond. Droughts are a real thing. Water is a magnet no matter where you are. So adding even 110-gallon water tanks, which I did as a reactive measure to that year, I added 3 of them. Adding even 110-gallon water tanks, figuring out how you can fill those water tanks to where you have water on your property, if that's not an available resource you already have, it can be a huge part in you having a limited resource that your neighbors might not have. This is a $100 investment, buying a 110-gallon water tank, digging a hole where it's just above flush with the dirt, and then filling it up. But this can be what you need to take your property to the next level above your neighbor. If they don't have that limited resource, deer will come to your property, no matter how small it is, to access that water. Your goal should be not only to add these limited resources and collect them, but to offer the best of these limited resources in all of the surrounding area. When you take your favorite hunting app and you pull up your property, okay? Maybe you got it pulled up. You put your fingers on the sides of the screen and pinch them together. You're gonna be able to look at what's surrounding your property and be able to tell food is lacking, bedding is lacking, maybe cover is lacking, there's no water anywhere, and you need to start to implement those different limited resources on your property, and it will make a huge difference. It'll make a huge difference in the short term, it'll make a huge difference in the long term. No matter how small your property is, bucks will prioritize moving through your property for those limited resources. Number 8. Control pressure. Pressure is created in a number of ways, and it is very, very hard to control and keep that pressure down or keep the stress level down on your deer herd, especially during hunting season. We have 10 guys, as I've said, and I want to be out there in the woods. You want to be out there in the woods. So keeping pressure down is different than not hunting. Part of it is don't hunt every day, but I want to be out there. So that leans more towards how are you accessing your food plots? Do you have multiple access points into your food plots based on what the wind might be doing? Don't hunt the wrong wind. I don't care how tempting it is. And sure, there's been millions of bucks killed on terrible wind where a guy's smoking a cigarette and drinking a beer and he has the biggest buck you've ever seen, walks out in front of him and he kills it. But that is not an excuse for you and me to hunt a bad wind. I just won't do it. It adds too much pressure. More than likely, you're gonna have does and younger bucks that come into a food plot before you have to actually pass the test with that big buck. And it's just too hard to do. It's not worth the risk of ruining a hunting location by hunting the wrong wind. The steps you can take to lower the pressure on your property would be create multiple access points. As I said, the way that we do that is after a clear cut, you need to be bush hogging fire breaks around your property lines. You need to be creating different access points into your fields. You need to be creating different stand locations in your fields. If you have really, really big food plots, you already do this. But a lot of times, guys that hunt on properties like us will create one stand, one big box that everybody hunts in it. You got one road you walk through, deer can see you for half a mile, and it just creates so much stress and so much pressure. And sure, you may see some deer come into the field an hour before dark, but the bucks that you actually want to be chasing are controlled by those does. And you're bumping them before daylight, you're bumping them after dark, you're bumping those does, and the bucks get educated on it, and they're not going to walk out in the daytime. It's just not going to happen. Pressure gets higher and higher as the season goes in most cases, and it's going to be harder and harder for you to run into the buck you're chasing unless the right hot doe runs past you. Number 9, set realistic and strategic goals. You need to have short-term and long-term goals that you're trying to achieve on your property. And I'm specifically talking about work you want to accomplish. So what is the work that we want to do? When I sit down and I make a list and it's got 85 different things on it, what are some short-term goals that we can accomplish as a club before this season? What are some long-term goals that I want to be working towards and trying to figure out on how we accomplish them? And then I would also tell you, don't be discouraged when you do 2 or 3 of them. And if I got 85, I've still got 82 or 83 on the list. It's very easy to get discouraged and go, man, we got so much work to do. We've accomplished nothing this off season. What are we even doing? But every goal you accomplish, no matter how big or how small, helps make your property a better destination for deer. So when you look at the list and you go, wow, we completed this goal, this is amazing, we are on our way to completing this list and creating a deer paradise. Even the smallest of things can help. In most cases, you have to complete a bunch of small victories before you ever experience big ones. And that's going to be the same way it is for your hunting club, for your hunting property. You have to go through a lot of little bitty small wins before you start to experience massive gains on your property. But every step of the process is worth it. And I've never ever felt like I wasted time, energy, or resources pouring into our deer property because of what it provides us. The truth is, you can always travel to a different place and harvest a bigger buck. But there's just nothing like when you're planning and your hard work pays off in harvesting a buck on your property. There's nothing like it anywhere. When I can kill a buck on our property that we've grown, that I knew I put my sweat and my blood into growing that deer, and it all comes together in me harvesting that deer, that adrenaline rush that comes with it, and those few moments where it's just like, man, there he is, boom, capitalize on it, and then we're celebrating as a club. There's just nothing like being able to experience that on your own piece of property or on your own lease. And I would encourage you, take the steps necessary to try and get guys around you that when that moment happens, there's nobody else you'd rather be around than the guys that are there with you. Whether you're managing 40 acres or 40,000 acres, the principles do not change. The goal is to collect limited resources and provide better limited resources than the properties around you. Prioritize progress over perfection. At the end of the day, the goal is not simply to kill big bucks. It's to grow them on a yearly basis. And how you go about doing that is to make a plan and work the plan. And if you're enjoying these videos, go ahead and watch this one.